It sounds like Games Workshop's Warhammer TV series is taking one major step closer, and Warhammer community seem to be surprisingly keen to set expectations for a Warhammer 40K movie in the future. Let's talk about the announcements and any hints that we have so far for the new series. Hello and welcome back to Warspecs Tactics, where today I thought I'd take a video just to talk about the news that Games Workshop and Amazon have signed their deal to make their TV show for real now, the one that's going to be produced and starring Mr. Henry Cavill. It's nice to have some good confirmation that this is progressing along as planned. As well as that, we've already got some hints about what it could be about and who might be working on it, and DW are setting some rough time horizons as to when we might expect this thing to happen now. Going back a long way, there's often been some rumours about Games Workshop making a TV deal with Amazon. There's plenty of news articles from 2020 and speculation long before this, potentially trying to make the Eisenhorn series of books into a TV adaptation for streaming. This all seemed to have gone quiet for a bit, though perhaps the catalyst for it to get reignited was Henry Cavill declaring an interest after it turned out he had some time in the calendar due to DC creators going in a different sort of direction with the Superman films, potentially making a sort of prologue type film with a different actor cast as the main man, which might well be the Warhammer 40K universe's gain, giving Mr. Cavill a chance to work on something from the grim darkness of the far future. Today that's taken a good step forward, with Games Workshop announcing that they've signed a formal contract with Amazon, so pretty much the official green light on this from a legal point of view. And in general, it's been fairly widely reported by a lot of things that track stocks and shares and things, who like to pay attention when companies start working together and stuff. It has impacted Games Workshop's share price a little bit, rising it a touch today. It seems that Games Workshop were excited enough to make a dedicated Warhammer community post a little bit earlier than they normally would in the day as well, sharing us a few more hints and teasers. I thought we'd take a look at the other stuff they've given us so far as well. The announcement today was kind of short and sweet, the headline being that they've signed an agreement in principle to work together to bring Warhammer 40k to the big and small screens, and basically sign the legal contracts to actually make the thing with Amazon. That was kind of what we'd expect unless things have fallen apart for one reason or another. But I feel like perhaps the most interesting part of that quote is big and small screens, which they follow up quickly later in the article with should we kick off with a movie or TV show or both? And then just to triple underline that there's a chance of a movie, they've got some of their cutesy sort of artwork of 40k characters all sat down in a cinema, not just crowded around a TV set. Between all this, it does sort of sound like the idea that a 40k movie might be eventually in the works. It seems like a pretty strong possibility. In general, Warhammer community don't really tend to drop quite this many heavy hints of one specific sort unless they are actually backed up with something. Hype's all well and good, but not really all that helpful if it's not actually leading to anything. Seems that GW are trying to be kind of ambitious with this, not just going for a TV show, but going for a movie as well. Though I really wouldn't be too surprised is that if the TV show was their original idea that they had in planning, maybe this might be the first thing that we see, and then if it's actually suitably successful enough, then maybe we might go on to feature film type things. Obviously all of this is pretty much teasers and hints at the moment as opposed to actually anything confirmed, but certainly sounds like they're hopeful for 40k coming to the big screen as well as just a TV series. Both would definitely be cool though if they're done right. Otherwise, perhaps the biggest question that fans are most interested in hearing is what exactly is going to be shown to us. The Warhammer 40k setting and the Heresy setting before it have just got a ridiculous amount of backstory, lore and cool characters that you could delve into, and you could absolutely create something entirely new. Say exploring some new facet of One Space Marine chapter or the Inquisition or something. The only actual teaser that we got from the article today was that they were asking what facet of the Warhammer 40,000 universe we should delve into first. To me, that kind of implies that it's more likely to be set in the 40k setting as opposed to the 30k. Maybe a more contemporary story as opposed to a history of the Heresy type series. I guess it's hard to completely rule that out though, given that they are actually all part of the same universe, just different parts of the timeline. A year ago in December 2022, they gave us this teaser trailer with this Golden Imperial Aquila, with the right hand of it all getting twisted, warped and corrupted. It's quite cool artwork, though really not all that specific. When I talked about this on a video at the time, people mentioned that the symbol cropped up in the Age of Darkness rulebook for Horus Heresy, so I guess perhaps could give a little bit more weight to it being set then rather than later, though in reality themes of corruption and loyalty versus heresy are pretty much a constant throughout 40k's entire history. As mentioned, still seems that there's a very good chance that it could be literally that Eisenhorn series that had been talked about literally for years before now, At first glance, that does seem like a very reasonable way to approach Warhammer 40k. It's maybe a bit easier to get a grasp of the scope and scale of the setting, maybe going through an Inquisitor, someone who's perhaps a bit more human and relatable than what an Astartes has gone through. And an Inquisitor could certainly give an obvious lead role for Mr. Cavill. I can't help but think it'd be a lot easier to get something like an Inquisitor's retinue right and feel good and relatable on screen as opposed to a Space Marine chapter. They're certainly pretty awesome in a bunch of shorts that they've made for Warhammer Plus. Though I do admit it would be pretty awesome if they do manage to make a film that focuses around Space Marines and actually have them feel right. As the central characters of the setting, I'm sure loads of people would very much enjoy that. Perhaps most people's biggest concern could be just seeing the Warhammer 40k universe done badly. It maybe seems unlikely if they are trying to carefully give control of the project to people who are genuine fans of the universe, but it's maybe a fairly understandable concern given Amazon's track record. The latest Lord of the Rings series had some mixed ratings at best. Otherwise, for a few other details from the announcement, Games Workshop said that the people who are making it are an elite band of screenwriters being assembled to bring the setting and characters to screen. They'll be championed by Henry Cavill, who will be taking his place as executive producer, bringing his pen, sword and or spear to the project. I guess if we're really fishing for hints, that could be something Custodians perhaps, but otherwise from their announcement last year, they said that it'd also be backed up by Vertigo Entertainment people who worked on the list of films listed here, as well as representation from Games Workshop and Amazon Studios themselves. For time horizons, it looks like Games Workshop is setting its expectations to around about 2 or 3 years away from now. I guess this would be the figure if everything goes smoothly and there aren't any too major speed bumps along the way. So unfortunately, looking at it from now, we're probably looking at around about 2026 to 2027 for first results and actually seeing this thing hit the screens. Should be pretty exciting though, and they did say that they'd keep some updates coming as the project moves along. I'm sure we'll get some hints, teasers and hype building up. From their official announcement as well, they said that the legal agreement that they signed today says that Games Workshop and Amazon will work together for a period of 12 months to agree some creative guidelines. So I guess that's the first stage of this thing actually getting made. GW trying to roughly have some sort of control over what happens with their IP. Perhaps just to doubly assert that they're not going to turn it into something that it isn't, which might not be helpful if it then goes out to a mass audience. In any case, seems like a big and exciting time for Games Workshop. I'm pretty fond to think that 40k is going to get a good chance to actually get properly realised in a TV show or film. It perhaps feels a bit more of an achievable goal now that they've got quite a few fun shorts and things between stuff that they made and fan animations came out with, like the Astartes series. It'll be a chance to get a whole load more people into Warhammer, or at least the extended universe around it. The announcement looks like it's boosted GW's stock price by a little bit, going up around about 1.5% today. And apparently Amazon would have a few other rights as well, with selling some merchandise based on the shows that they've created, and the option to create shows based on the Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar setting if it was desired, though given that the 40k setting is known to a lot more people than their fantasy settings, the latter would feel like quite a lot more of a risk overall. Interesting stuff though, looking forward to hopefully getting something fun to watch. Let me know your thoughts on what you'd like to see from it, and any hopes and fears for the project. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where hopefully I might check back on this from time to time if Games Workshop come out with anything else interesting, but otherwise I'll be sticking to more tabletop themed model news first and foremost. Otherwise, if you've been enjoying the videos on the channel, feel free to support the channel's Patreon page. It is what allows me to keep on making videos like this just about every day. Channel patrons get a few advantages, seeing certain videos early, and occasional votes to see what sort of things come next, and entries to some monthly prize draws for the chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link's down in the video description, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.